G'day, my name's Mark. I made these two side tables several weeks ago just because just wanted to use up some timber, and it's just something I wanted to do. Someone got in contact with me, they really liked them, but they needed to be higher. I'm going to make some simple little legs for these side tables. I'm going to use basic joinery, or DIY joinery as I call it. So these side tables are purely made up of laminating slats of timber together, then making some slabs, and purely by positioning all those mini little slabs, I created box joints all around. So there's no screws, it's all held together by glue, but it is super strong and it looks pretty cool. So with this leftover ironbark, or could well be red gum, I'm not sure. All I do know is it's very hard. Now, when you work with recycled timber like pallets or decking, you end up with a lot of thin slats. So what I like to do is laminate stuff together to give myself some different profiles like squares. So what I'm going to do with this is, again, use the slats to create some of my joints. That's the plan. Hope it works. Okay, so I need 8 pieces and I need 2 pieces of different sizes. So I'm going to use the table saw and sled, check square, to get my first 8 pieces. Check square, and then I can use the thickness of the wood to set myself up to get all the check square, all the other pieces that I need. So basically it's all very simple. So I've used a pencil here, realized that's not very accurate, so I busted out the marking knife, and that makes me feel warm and fuzzy because it's just so much better. Anyway, so line up those marks, and again, use a stop block. They're going to be your friend throughout this. And then you can cut all those little 8 pieces to size, check that it's fit and snug, and carry on, get some more. Okay, all the other longer pieces, I'm going to do them on the miter saw, and a stop block is always going to be your friend for repeatable cuts. So I haven't pulled my finger out and made myself a stop block yet that I can access into this part of the miter saw, so I can make some small cuts. If you want to check out a pretty cool video on one option, how to do that, as well as an extension option, check out Sumo's projects. I should have a video playing up the top right now. So I'll take this over to the table saw and cut them, because they need to be about 190 mil. Check square and then cut to 190 millimeters, or whatever you have chosen. All right, I'm going to use the table saw to cut out some rebates. So I'm going to use the marking knife again, lower the blade to about half the width of my bit of stock, and then I can basically set my marking line up on the table saw blade, use my stock to make my first cut so that it's inset. I then slide the piece over like that, and I can cut my second cut. Clear it out with the table saw, and that all sounds like it's going to be just a great idea. Okay, so you can cut this trench on your miter saw, or you can use a handsaw and a chisel. Now, the reason I'm not doing that is my chisels are pretty ordinary, and I don't have good sharpening stones to do this properly. The good thing is, doing this little project has found me a buyer to sell this piece of furniture, and then I'm going to go and get myself set up with some decent chisels, sharpening stones, etc. So I can start to do this cool stuff, hand tool stuff, a little bit more. Well, all right, so you know what I've done here? I haven't allowed for the thickness of the blade. So I'm a dickhead, and I'm gonna have to remake it. No big deal. Lesson learned there. Okay, so again, haven't pulled my finger out and made myself one of these. It's a jig for cutting kerfs, just like Chris is doing here, to get perfect dados every time. So it's a very handy little piece of kit. So check out his video, very well explained, and it shows you exactly why it's a handy addition. Okay, so I don't have a kerf cutting jig, so I'm going to use the stock again, but this time I'm going to slide in a piece of 3mm ply, which is the same as the thickness of the blade. That will then make for a perfect dado as well, just like this. All right, so I'll just show you a few more times, but just keep in mind this 3mm ply, it's not the exact thickness of the blade, and there's no way to make micro adjustments. That's why go and watch a video and you'll see how handy that bit of kit is. All right, although you can't shave the hair off my arms with my chisels, they are sufficient just to clean up the tiny little tracks that the blade has left. This is the basic concept. I've only got slats, so I've got the rebate cut out of that one. So these two pieces will be laminated together to form the leg. So that rebate's hiding in behind there now. And then these little cross pieces, they will just get to slot in there. Now I've just got to clean those up a little bit because they're a tiny bit tight. That'll be the gist, basically. You grab the wacky thing. Groovy. So I've got this slightly inny-outy profile on the front and the sides, and I'll probably just put some pocket holes in to these to attach it to the frame. Now if you don't want to do this little rebate here, all this can be achieved with just a miter saw. You could then just pocket hole these joints in as well. That would be totally fine. This isn't a massively structural piece of furniture. Sticker sponsor shout out is Ainsley from Small Fry Creations. She has a really great channel. She's on Instagram as well. So go and check her out. Alrighty, here's the DIY joinery. So I basically just glue my two different sizes together, which will allow for the same material to then run horizontally and form a nice strong joint. Now I've set all these up exactly the same, got them all nice and square. They end up being a little bit tall, so later on I end up chopping the bottoms off, make them a little bit shorter, but it's all good. And if again you make yourself a little kerf cutting jig, you won't have to go through this routine. They are going to be perfect every time. Woo! Look at that workbench go. Next year's job. Build a good workbench. Aussie Ocker. Cuffy's Woodwork. Freaking myself out here. I never get stuff that good, ever. Okay, I'll just show you this little balls up. So I didn't quite widen this dado enough, rebate, whatever it is, and then tapping it in, it basically chipped away. So this hardwood's not going to be very forgiving if it is too tight. So just don't do that. I'm going with a simple pocket holes on the inside of the little frame here, and that's going to be my mechanism to attach the frame to the bedside table. Oh, quick check square. Check square again. Okay, so here is that simple joinery in action. I've got myself basically a half lap, which is nice and strong, plenty of gluing surface, and then I can just clamp it all together, get some clamps in both directions, and I'm very happy with the strength and how it turned out. Okay, got the old trim router, whack a few chamfers on because I love those, and we're getting pretty well sorted to attach it, which I'm doing right now. I am pre-drilling because this wood is hard as 10 hard things. Okay, oh, finish time. We're really moving along now. I'm not going to bore you with that. Alrighty, there we go. So what was a couple of little cube side tables for your lounge room is now a couple of bedside tables, just that little bit high, and they look pretty rad. So luckily I had just enough scraps to actually finish off those side tables. I actually made a few blunders along the way. I recently just used up all my scraps in this chair build. So I did a build a chair challenge for Carl Pope Woodcraft. All those videos are going to be coming out early December. So tune into this hashtag and you'll get a nice playlist of all those makers. It's a good way to meet new people, come and say g'day, and just discover a whole heap of us that are having a bit of fun making stuff in the backyard shed. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this one. Thanks very much, and I'll see you all in the comments of the Build a Chair challenge.